Welcome back, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast presented by the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, Cooper Paint, Striping, and Seal, and the newest sponsor, Magnolia Landscape and Design. Didn't get the new intro video in there, but they will be in the new intro video with their logo and everything like that. But super excited about having a new sponsor. Super excited about coming to y'all this week. My co-host, as you know, always David Glidden. DG, what's happening, man?
What's up, brother? Man, same old. Keep it on. Doing great, man. I'm with you. Excited about the new sponsor.
Yeah,
Shout out to Magnolia, man. Family ties there for sure. So
I was
people
going
need
to
to
say.
work.
I mean, hey, tell us what Magnolia Landscaping and Design and who does it, man. Shout them
Yeah,
out for
man.
sure.
Yeah, so that's my brother. So people out there that know my brother, Dylan Glidden, just recently started his own gig. He's been in landscaping business for I don't know how many years now, and uh, got an opportunity and running his own show. Man, they do really. I say they do. They just started, but I know they've already had some really good projects. But he's been a part of some really good stuff from your everyday work to your high end, whether it be commercial, residential. It really doesn't matter. They do it all. The hardscaping, residential landscaping. Anything you need, man, they get it done. So I've witnessed a lot of his work firsthand the last few years, and it's really high quality stuff. So I know he takes a lot of pride in it, and I'm just excited for him and the opportunity within the family. So yeah,
Absolutely.
man, excited to
And
have them on as a sponsor.
yeah, for sure. And tell us about our guest tonight.
Yeah, so more family ties tonight, man. So more family ties.
We're just
Kevin
gonna call
Andrews,
this
welcome to the
episode
show.
"Family Matters."
Yeah,
You
this
know,
is the
there
this
we
is
go.
Family Matters episode, man.
That's
So
right. There we
Kevo,
go.
welcome to the show, man. Again, Family Ties, my first cousin. Love this guy to death, but truly one of the best people, human beings I've ever met in my life. And a sports performance coach. This guy has dropped knowledge on me in the sports world that I had no idea about the last couple of years. So, Kevo, welcome to the show, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Hey,
sir.
thanks, guys. And I'll
Excited to
also
have
give a
it.
shout out to Magnolia. Dylan has done work at my house personally,
There we
so
go.
I can back the quality of the work for sure.
There we
Hey,
go, man.
hear it from the people who have had the work done. That's the best way to do it, and we're excited to have them along with our other sponsors and everything like that. But thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. We won't try to keep you too long, but we're excited about this episode and
Oh, I
learning
can't
about some
wait.
sports psychology and stuff like that. But I'm gonna let DG kick it off with some
Yeah.
questions for you.
We've started, man. We've started. I'll say this, man. We've had some ball coaches. We've had people in all different shapes, sizes, fashions, different sports all over the place, whatever you want to call it. But I don't think we've had anybody that knows quite as much about the human mind, especially when it relates to sports like you do, man. So I'm fired up to learn about this. I mean what I said earlier. Like we've had a lot of nights together where you've dropped knowledge on me, and I just sit there and my eyes are just open, and I'm like, how can I translate this and take this to my guys? Eventually one day. So it's really fun. I will say this too, Kev, before I get into the questions, Drew, I'm not going to let it slide by, bro. Shout out to the Sooners. I'll say Sooners. All right. National champs,
That's
2026
still
College World Series. That's
I
huge,
still
man.
can't wrap my mind
Congratulations.
around it, and it doesn't feel real. It doesn't like last night. I got a chance to go down to Kimry Family Stadium and watch the celebration and everything like that. And obviously, I was up in Omaha Monday night for that. It was very special. That was a bond that me and my dad had with baseball. That was kind of our thing. Obviously, I played college baseball, stuff like that, but we really had a bond with Sooner baseball. Got to experience it together in 22. Didn't quite get it done that year, but Dad passed away in 2024. But very special for me. Didn't get it done on Father's Day. I would have liked to just seal it up on Father's Day. But Monday was just so special, and being able to be there in person with some friends of mine that long time. We have season tickets to baseball and stuff like that and everything. And we are the ride or dies. I was in games in February, late February when it's cold outside. So it was quite an experience and was very excited to you know I mean, yeah, just saying national champions for baseball is crazy. So and then especially being in the SEC and making that run was pretty special. So
For
appreciate the
sure.
shout out. I know it's not easy for some, but hey, I love it.
I told you beforehand I was cheering for him.
Yeah,
It was.
I know you said it. You
I was
did.
cheering for him. I was,
Yeah.
and I will say, and this leads into the first question for Kevin here. Man, it's just that you hit on. It's impressive what they did, the run they went
Mhm.
on, and I've always kind of felt like this. College baseball, maybe more than any other sport when it comes to winning in the postseason, it's all about getting hot at the right time, and OU did that for sure. And so that's kind of the question I want to hit on, Kevin, about that. Like a team that has a pretty average regular season, if you will, what does it take? And have you been around teams that have had success like that? And what do you, if so, what's the common theme? Why? How does that
Mm.
happen within teams? Because it's not they didn't get new players in the middle of the season. Maybe a couple guys come back from injury here or there, but it's I mean there's a lot of guys on the baseball field. And then, not to mention the rotation that happens, not to mention the DHs and blah blah blah, all the things that go on. So a lot of guys are playing on a baseball team.
Mm.
What does it take mentally for a team to come together like that and find their groove and get hot? Like, have you been a part of something like that? Weigh in on that for us.
I have, but there's different reasons, so I can speculate. And I think the most important thing, and sometimes I wonder because I did listen to some of the interviews from the OU players, after they won, and just try to listen for. I try to listen in those kind of interviews for whether it's professional sports, college athletics, to go what's going on in the background, because you get a lot of hints when you listen to those interviews. And the thing I heard the most from OU baseball players, at least, and I could be completely off, but the word belief kept coming in. I'm talking like every fourth word, it felt like, and in some of those interviews. Um, and I think what the idea was, they talked about how slept on they were. They talked about being, well, I think I said it earlier, preseason number 14, ranked 14th in the SEC, I think.
Yeah.
So not really thought of as a, somebody who's
Sure.
going to really make a run there, right? And to me, what that points to is every team, when they become really successful, the thing that goes above talent, I think, is an alignment with a singular message. What's our mission? What's the thing that we can all hold on to, right? That we're all in this together, and it's a full top to bottom, like, we're in this, like, whatever that message is. And for them, it was that belief that, like, we want to prove people wrong. We want to, we believe that we belong at the top here, even though everybody else is counting us out. And that's what they wanted to anchor themselves into. And I think that's pretty similar. If you look at any team that, people look as maybe average, but you get these really hot runs, it's that little thing that we can focus on that brings us together, versus thinking about all the outcomes that could go wrong. Or we start listening to the message, believing that, hey, maybe we aren't really that great. Like, oh, we've already, defied certain expectations, so that's pretty good. But for them, it was like, no, one thing, we're
Man,
going all the way.
that's
No,
awesome.
I think you were spot on with the belief part, because the more I heard it through the postseason, the more those guys were like, "Hey, we beat Georgia Tech, we beat the number 2 overall
Mm-hmm.
seed at their regional. Now we're starting to gain confidence. Then we go to Kansas, and they were the Big 12 champions and had a great run, and then beat them, and then getting to Omaha, everybody was like, Oklahoma, that's a great story and all, but
Mm-hmm.
they got to go through the bracket with Texas and Georgia and Alabama, who are all top seeds and top of the SEC and everything like that, and they just continue. I think that was a great insight for you. Is absolutely everything that I got too was just the word belief and just the mental fortitude that they had to come together and do that. So yeah, I agree with you there.
I mean, I would say this. I didn't follow it as close as you did, Drew. That's for sure. But I did follow them, and especially when it came to Omaha, and because it was cool rolling. There we go. But I heard there was multiple times just the commentators, whoever was calling the games, were talking about OU's head coach. Why did I just go blank? Is it Sonny? What is it? Or
Skip
yeah, Skip. Sorry.
Skip Johnson. Yeah,
Um,
you
yeah,
went. Your screen went black too. So I don't know if it
I
was a.
can hear you kind of with a weird voice, but I got you too. But anyway, they were talking about the just the whole mentality of the team, believing, but also stepping down when the head coach asked them to. and guys were stepping up in different places. Like guys were getting put in different places, whether it's a lineup or whatever that be. So it takes a certain type of unselfishness along with
Yeah.
believing to make sure that that happens. And when you can see those things come together, man, that's a special thing. That's obviously what they went and accomplished. So,
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And I think what I hear in that is, the importance of accepting roles. You lose, if you get high ego athletes, right? It's really hard to do what Dave was talking about, like stepping down if they're used to having the spotlight, and to kind of switch because this is what team needs. And so if you get a team first mentality, that's pretty special.
Yeah, no doubt. And that kind of brings me to my next point. In the current role that you're at, you mentioned that you're now at Oklahoma State. In your role, talk about your role at Oklahoma State and what you're doing with student athletes as far as the sports psychology of things and kind of your day to day and what you're doing there in Stillwater.
Sure. So for me, I'm dual trained mental health and sports psychology, and they can feel like some overlap there, but the mental health side of things is what most people think of. It's the stressors, the anxiety, the depression, the mental well-being type thing. And then sports psychology, right? We're talking optimizing the mindset for high performance consistently. And so we look at the trainable skills that go into that. And so my day-to-day is pretty filled. Monday through Friday, it's starting about 8:30 in the morning. I'm going back to back with individuals. Most teams here, we practice around 2 in the afternoon. And so by 2 o'clock, I'm usually at somebody's practice. And so in the day, it's filled with a mix of mental health and sports psych, mindset training. And then usually on the field somewhere, we're working it in practice.
Nice. So do you specifically work with certain teams, or is it every team on campus?
So any athlete can come see me. There's a couple of people like me here. And then we have what's called a liaison system. And so I have certain teams that I'm just closer with, that I build more relationship with.
Yeah.
There's certain teams that I come in, I do either weekly, bi-weekly kind of team sessions, just depending on what that team's needs are.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Is there, and now I don't know if this is a great question or not, but is there a team that you like working more closely with than others, or is it just, certain athletes, or is it just you love it all across the board and in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. For most, I like most any team. There's certain teams I tend to work closer with, or to see more of the athletes with. I would say most of my load is sports psych, where it's mainly mindset training. And so, yeah,
So
I love working with the wrestlers.
what does that mean? You say sports psych and mindset training. Like, give us a difference. What's the difference in that versus something else?
Yeah, so I look at the difference between mental health and sports psych, right? And so sports psych is the mindset training kind of piece of it, and then mental health counseling, which is a clinical licensed therapist role to deal with more mental health, anxiety, depression, bipolar, maybe eating disorders, things like that. And then the sports psych side of things is we're working things like focus and concentration, confidence, just all those things that kind of go into what does high performance look like for an individual, and how do we maintain that throughout an entire competition practice.
Yeah. So what are some of the things with that, training the mind and everything like that? What are some of the questions, or maybe some of the things that you put the athletes through that can prepare them for, a big game or a big, match, or whatever the case is? And how do they prepare not only physically for the sport, but also the mental side of it? What are some of the things that you work with them on to try to get that focus, try to get that concentration built up to where that, they have the, quote, the blinders on, so to speak?
Yeah. The hope is that we're front loading all of that work, right? We're not waiting until a competition to start that.
Yeah.
And so these off seasons are really important for us here. And so kind of what that is, everybody's unique, everybody's different. And so it's getting a grasp of what that individual experiences. And, I think each of us maybe have experienced some level of this, and I give extremes. And now I'm blanking on the person I'm thinking of. Dave, you might remember there was a running back here back in maybe when you first started, Kendall Hunter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Were you ever on a team with him?
I missed him by a year, I think, but he was an All-American, if not a two-time. I mean, he was a great player.
Right. So people used to talk about him before a game. He would be asleep in his locker. Right. They would have to wake him up to go out. And he was fairly quietish, but he would go out and he was so good, right?
Yeah.
So I see an extreme on that, and I look at think about Ray Lewis, right? You see him come out of the tunnel. He's high energy, and he holds that through a whole game, right?
Yeah.
Now when I look at that, like that's two extremes to me. Not everybody does well on the high extreme, high energy, even though they think they do. They don't.
Yeah.
Not everybody can be that low and operate really high at a high level. But for them two, that's their optimal zone. We all fit in the middle of that. And so in a short sense, it's helping each individual find that where they lie in that line of kind of energy, where they operate at a high level. And so, both of you played sports. I would ask you this. Have you ever had, I think each of us have, and think back.
So did you. You played sports too.
I did.
Yeah.
I know the answer to my own question.
Okay.
So think back to a game where if you're playing football, where it's like the crowd's silent, right? There's an excitement, and you in the middle of a game, you're going, you're working really hard, but it doesn't feel like it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
For sure.
Like, yeah. Okay, so each of you instantly went back to like, all right, there's that moment, like, yeah, like I was in the zone, right? Our world, we call it flow state, and so my job is to help individuals find that flow state more often, because most of us just fall into it by happenstance, but it's not consistent. And so that feel of where am I at, and that level of energy and focus, where's my ideal? And then now all of the skills that we work on is to help alleviate some of the distraction that pulls us out of that. What am I doing before the games and matches and all that stuff, right? That lead me into that, so that maybe by the time I'm stepping on the field, court, course, track, mat, whatever, that we're starting to feel that versus trying to find it.
Man, how is that? So my initial question to that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions. So.
Yeah, man, this is my mind is like
the flow state. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, flow state. So yeah, I want to stay on that. I want to stay on the flow state. Like you're in the zone. That's what everybody else would consider the zone, right? Whatever.
That's what we call it. Yeah.
It's. I'm sure other people have different names for it. Cool, but I'm glad we can all centralize on what that is, right? When Kobe scored 81 points, I'm sure he was in the flow state. Whatever.
Yeah, I love listening to him talk about his flow state. He shows.
Is that how he refers to it? Does he refer to it as? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. He was a big sports psychology guy, man. Yeah,
he worked with George Mumford, who is the same one who Michael Jordan worked with. Phil Jackson brought him in on that second three-peat, and then took him to LA with him. He really fell into it. Very skeptical at first, but really found why.
That's awesome. So, I love I love the speaking of Kobe. I've never just heard him talk about that, but I think recently actually his speech of back in the day when he was at Alabama has kind of gone viral. Pieces of it have gone viral when he was speaking to the Alabama football team. That was like 10 years ago probably, but if not more than that. But because I actually have that full speech. I won't tell who gave it to me, but I have the full speech actually on my hard drive that's sitting right here. Phenomenal. But anyway, within that, so you mentioned working with the wrestlers earlier, and you work with, I say a lot, you work with multiple sports that are more individualized, right? Wrestling, tennis, golf, whatever it might be. And you have sports that are very team oriented. Not that those teams or those people aren't working on a team to achieve a common goal, but they're participating on their own a lot, right? Mm-hmm. So is there a huge difference in the flow state of someone wrestling or playing or participating in an individualized sport versus playing football or soccer or basketball or baseball that's constantly a team sport in between the lines? Like, do you see is there a different struggle to reach those people to find that spot, or how does that, how does that
really
work?
Cool question. No, I think they both have their challenges, And it's really about identifying each individual's challenge, because team sport or not, because I think I remember Kobe even talking about this, right? In the team sport, that it's so easy that even a teammate can pull you out, right? A comment they make, something they do or don't do. But that can happen with a coach. That can happen with the crowd. That can happen with an undesired result, right? So if like think of individual, like anything can throw us off. In tennis, it's I've had 2 double faults in a row, and it's just like, okay, I can't, don't do that again, right? So like something very simple for anybody it's just the skills align in the same, but to your point, yeah, they each have their own different challenges, and I've actually never had anybody say, like, think of it that way, to go, can you see the differences between an individualized sport that's still a team sport, because we don't really have any purely individual sports necessarily.
Yeah.
There's still a team component in everything that we do here. Because if you think, Roger Federer used to talk about that, to where they thought it's a very individualized sport. It's him, but he talks about it as my team is my strength coach, my nutritionist, my coach, right? All these people that travel with me, that is still my team. And and I think that's a very great way to look at those.
For sure.
Yeah, like even like you just said, professional athletes, they still have an entourage, if you will, or they still have a nutritionist, a agent, all this other stuff. And yeah, that's a great point. I've never really thought about it like that. You only see them out there on the, where they're at, their arena, so to speak, and you don't see the behind the scenes of how they prepare, because you don't, let's be honest, you don't just show up and have that mental fortitude that some of these great athletes have. It takes like people like you that help them learn how to live in that state.
Yeah. And I think golf, like, instantly my mind went to golf. Like, because you said it, you said it, that even your individualized sports are still a team component of it. So my mind instantly goes to golf. Obviously I love golfing. I suck at it, but like, I think of pro golf. I was watching the Travelers tournament earlier today. And with Scotty, every time, that's probably an exaggeration. A lot of times you hear people direct success at him. It's always bounced off of somebody else because of his humble nature, for sure. But he talks about his team a lot. So your Roger Federer reference there, and the same component. Scotty talks so much about his team, and people probably just think, yeah, him and Ted, right, is caddy. No, it's a lot more than Teddy. And his coach behind the scenes, his wife, he talks about being a part of his team, his family, all that, his dad. Like, there's the team component is so necessary in life, in my opinion, that even the best athletes in the world that are playing the most individualized game rely on a team. And so it's crazy to think of that when you try to stress that to young kids all the time, of that team sports and how the world has become so individualized. And look at me, that, hey, even the best guys in the world that are getting all the focus are still relying on a team, and they're giving the credit to the team. I think that's pretty cool to hear him talk about
and
that all the time.
you're always, no matter where you're at, relying on somebody else, no matter what. And
for sure.
There's a trust component in there as well, but at the same time, you need help from, people at some point in your life, or in some point in your sport, or whatever you're doing out there. And so it takes that special, because you can't do it by yourself. Like, even the great ones, like, I think about Tiger Woods. I think about, a lot of these athletes, Kobe Bryant, some of the guys that have competed at the highest level have always needed, that extra, whatever it is to get them to that championship level.
Yeah. Speaking of that in golf, Kev, do you know much about, and to your point in the championship, shout out Wyndham Clark, right? Man, U.S. Open champion, twice, 2-time. Even though people will go back and forth on whether he's really a cowboy or not. I consider him a cowboy, man. I was there at the same time he was in Stillwater, so I was always a good dude. But he's battled a lot of mental up and downs, man. And he's gone through hardships in his life. His story, a lot of people know, maybe they don't know, but losing his mom to cancer, I believe it was. And, leaving, that's part of the reason he left Oklahoma State, I do believe, to head back out west, be with family and be closer to home when he transferred to Oregon. But he's battled some up and downs, and still currently battling the mental up and downs of fighting people in his home country rooting against him to not win the U.S. Open. It's crazy. So
I think a lot of that had to do with what the last time he was in New York, what he did to the locker room.
For sure.
It is
But
what it is.
people-
And he's a true poke, too, because he still talks trash about Baker Mayfield. So I don't know if y'all saw that little
Well,
piece.
he doesn't
So-
talk trash, but now he talks good about him. Now he talks good about him.
I don't
just
know
saw
about that. The other interview, I don't know if you saw that a couple of days ago. He called him out. So
I saw him on
a certain incident that happened in 2016. So
yeah, with his girlfriend cheating on him with Baker. That came, but I saw him. He was showing love to him on
he
the Pat
was.
McAfee show.
He was.
He was so either
Yeah.
way. But Kev, do you know much about his story for one?
I don't.
Oh man, that'd be a great one for you to look into because I know. So Drew hit it right. Drew hit it last time he was in the U.S. Open. What was that, Oakmont? Last year, and he broke a locker or whatever it was.
I think it was the PGA last year.
Okay. Either way, at Oakmont, and he had a rant or whatever he did, and he broke a locker in the players' locker room, and so a lot of people giving him crap, whatever it was. But he's been known to have struggles up and downs mentally with himself. And years ago, when he first got on tour, fighting throwing clubs and slamming clubs and raging out and the whole thing or whatever it was. And so, but now, man, he's had a lot of improvement. I think a lot of people would say, and he talks about his, the battles he's had with that. So even without you knowing, you said you don't know much about his story, right?
Mm-mm.
Like
No, I don't.
in your opinion, someone who's gone through something like that, can you, whether it be his family, things that happen, his family incidents that happen, he lost his mom, and then if you're dealing with up and down battles within yourself and trying to become a pro and trying to win big tournaments, like how much does that really take? Like, if in your opinion, how much time does that really take to overcome some of those battles mentally that you face? Like, I know everybody's probably different, just like in everything anywhere, but like, can you put a number on it at all? Like, if somebody like that you maybe obviously not naming names or anything like that you can experience has been around something like that, like how many hours a week are they spending with somebody like yourself that can help them overcome those battles to get back to performing, whether it be family issues or whether it be strictly just sports performance?
Oh, I don't think I could ever accurately even try to guess that number. But I think what's the cool about working with high performers is that they are intense. And so, I tell people about what we do. What makes it difficult is if you go, maybe a terrible example, but if you go to you break your arm, right? You go to the doctor. If they, stabilize that arm in a cast, whatever, do the right protocol, whether or not you want that bone to heal, it's going to heal. You have a headache, you take some ibuprofen, it's going to work.
Yeah.
Even though I take it, I go, please don't work. It's going to work, right? That's the difference. Like,
That might depend on how many beers you had. I don't know.
There you go.
You might need
Right.
to take 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Showing up to our
Well,
office.
we need you on the golf course with David with some sports psychology. So.
That's true.
So my point is, showing up to our office isn't enough.
I
I can't make somebody change, right? They have to want it and they have to work at it outside of here. So there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can say enough that makes somebody better, that changes their mindset, right? And so the timeline's up to them. If they're committed to the work, they can probably do it fairly quickly. The push is like, I'm pushing for 6 weeks, maybe. But you get a high performer, they're going to do it because they want it. And they when they start to experience what that's like, to feel that difference, they're like, oh shoot, I want this, right? And they really start working at it. So the timeline is up to the individual who's willing to put in the work or not. Because I've had the other end where you sit there and you're driving yourself crazy, going like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like, what else can I do with this person? And to remember, like, oh, it's not you. It's somebody's willingness to do the work outside of here.
Now, how hard is that for you
Sure.
though? Because I know that sometimes, obviously you get paid to do what you do, but you also build relationships with these athletes and you care about them and you kind of build that. How hard is that for you sometimes to be able to get in and reach some of those athletes and sometimes maybe feeling like you're walking away feeling disappointed or you really want it so much for one of these athletes or the person that you work for, but you understand, like you just said, hey, they've got to want that. So how do you, a lot of times people look to you for a lot of things, but how do you keep your cup full to not, obviously take your work home or kind of let it affect your day to day as a in your personal life?
Wow,
Good question.
That's a really great question.
I was actually thinking the same thing, Drew. So I'm glad you asked that because I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm glad you asked it because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's learning
It's
from my
great.
own mistakes. It's trial and error because I've been on the other side of it. I tell people, such a cool question. I remember my internship in graduate school. I worked with youth, 12 to 17-year-olds in a shelter, in a youth shelter. And I remember doing that over and over, right, day to day. And I remember one day I was just at home. I go, man, I feel terrible. Like I feel like shit. Like I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I cuss on here. Sorry.
That's
But
all right.
it's like
No,
Maddie.
we're unfiltered. You're good.
Yeah, I heard you say unfiltered earlier, so I took
Yeah.
it. I
This
feel
is the
awful.
this is the Huddle Up Unfiltered. So
That's right.
if it's
Good.
past 8:30, you're good. So yeah, you
go.
just made it. So you're good.
But what I figured out was that, especially on the mental health side of things, I was taking on other people's stories and their emotional and their trauma and all those things and I wasn't refilling, right? And so
Yeah.
I learned, luckily then at the very beginning, and I had a good supervisor who goes, "Hey, how you taking care of yourself there?" Right? And so it forced me to go, okay, if I want to do this long term, I need to figure out a system for myself to have that debrief so that when I go home, I can be husband, I can be dad and do it well and not just go lay on the couch and sulk and not have energy for anything. Right?
I mean, that's got
So
to be a lot of weight on you sometimes from some of the stuff that you
sure.
hear or some of the stuff that you experience, and so that's got to be pretty tough to do that.
yeah, and so I have my system now, right? And again, I try to learn, and it's that reminder every day, seriously, to go, hey, I can't work harder than the person across from me. We have to redefine success sometimes, that it's more about their process than it is the end result. And then, how do I do that little check for myself when I do leave on that drive home for that 10 minutes I get? Tell people I view my life as these rooms in a house. And so when I'm at work, my work light's on. Every other light in the house, I'm trying to turn off so that I can be completely present with these people. But when I leave, when I turn off the light switch in my office, it's the same. Like that's my cue that mentally hey, is there anything to deal with for the day? On that drive, I'm switching on my family light so that I want to be with them. I don't want to think about work. It'll be there tomorrow. Like the stuff isn't going anywhere. So no sense in trying to predict what tomorrow's going to bring. I'll just deal with it when it happens. That's done a lot.
That's a
This is
tough
good
thing,
stuff.
man. That's a
Yeah.
tough thing because
So
I'll say this.
those of you who are
Go
just
ahead.
joining us, we have Kevin Andrews, sports psychologist at Oklahoma State, works with student athletes, everything like that. So we're just talking to him about sports psychology, things like that too. So, but yeah, no, that's good stuff. And yeah, that's got to be tough to kind of have that work-life balance and make sure that you're always, making sure that you're filled up so that you can pour out to the student athletes that you work with.
Yeah, Drew, you know this better than anybody. To Kevin's point, I mean, and we've had a number of coaches that have been on this show, and that if you would have told me when I first got into coaching the things that you experience are real and true and they actually happen, I would have laughed at you, be like, oh, okay, yeah, right, But it's crazy some of the things you deal with in that profession, and the guys that have been on the show know it. And Kevin, you know it because not only are you around athletes every day, you're around coaches and you deal with coaches regularly as well. Are you seeing them individually? I don't know. That's not my business to know, but you're communicating with them on a regular basis because you deal with teams as a whole, right? I know, man, the point that you just said about knowing, not just knowing when, but knowing how to turn it off, whatever your cue is. There's so many coaches I know that struggle with that. so many. And I would say if I had to put a number on it, which this number may not mean a damn thing, but I would guess at least 80 to 90% of coaches have no idea how to turn it off when they get home. And I'm definitely included in that
Shoot.
for sure. Because when I
Yeah.
go home and I'm laying in bed or whatever it is, or supposed to be hanging out with my wife and eating dinner, and she's asking me like, what are you thinking about? And I'm thinking about, well, was the report I gave to the OC, was that actually good today? Did I give him
Well,
the
you got
best plan for us to
and
win on
you
third
got the
down
little
today? You
whiteboard
know,
out, and you're
yeah, man. I'm drawing up plays here late, and I'm like X's and O's. I'm like, but in reality, the best thing about it,
Yep.
and I actually saw someone, Steve Kerr, talked about this recently, like
Mm,
taking care of yourself and
that's a
you
good
saw
one.
that? You saw that recently?
No,
Yep.
but I'm a big
No,
fan of that guy.
he's a big
Yeah,
component of that. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
man. Like knowing how and when to turn that off, man. Because if you can't, then the next day when you show up, there's no way you're going to be fresh.
Hmm.
And your players or the people that are around you, not just players, the other coaches and the staff members that you're around on a daily basis, they need you to be fresh. They need you to be at your best. And to be at your best,
Hmm.
eventually you got to know how to turn it off and set your mind and set that stuff to aside. Because if you're obsessed with that 24/7 all the time, eventually, you're going to start thinking one way. And when you think one way, that closes your mind off to a lot of different things in sports, in life, in general. And because there's not just one way to think with anything in this
Hmm.
world, with everything that comes about. So, especially in the sports world. So, yeah, I saw that from Steve Kerr recently, too. And so it's funny you talk about that, man, because I know we may only have two people ever that listen to this thing, but I know there's a couple people that have, and they're young coaches too, that could take that with them for the rest of their lives for sure. Because that's a huge, huge no, man. Especially when you start having a family, like you said, like Kev, I know
Yeah.
your family, man, and you'd be doing them a disservice when you go home to those girls,
Hmm.
to not show them everything you got, all the attention you gave to your athletes during the day, giving your girls the same love at night and the same attention, man.
Yeah, and I think the research we saw a while back started with MLB pitchers. So, biggest reason for burnout, and it was because they couldn't leave baseball at baseball.
Hmm.
It's you go home to family or whatever else, and they're thinking about contracts and replaying the day and what is tomorrow going to be like? Am I going to be able to come back and bring momentum back? It was a terrible day, and right, and they can't stop turn it off. And Drew and I were talking before this, and he was like, I just gotta, if I could understand what you understand, and that what I said was, no, I think you get more than you think, because this is a human thing.
Yeah.
Right? Give me one person who doesn't sit and ruminate on the future or the past. That's going to create, one, an inability to focus on right now and what's important, and in getting one thing done at a time. Or, tell people future brings out stress. Stress loves coming up with the what ifs. Right?
Mm.
What if this happens? What if this happens? And so,
Yeah.
the past, you ruminate on the past, and anger and sadness love the past. Something that's already happened to me that I didn't like, but I keep thinking about it.
Yeah. No, and
Well,
and then you brought up a really good point, because we talked with Mustang's strength and conditioning coach last week, and he had a lot of great words for us, and everything. And we talked about how most, and even we're talking about like youth sports and even kids, the biggest reason they quit sports is the car ride home. And I think Glid, you said it best, is they can't shake that, because they already know that they're taken out of the game, because they already know what mom or dad or whoever they live with or ride home with. They already know that they're going to get ass chewing from their parents, or something's never going to be good enough or anything like that. So why do I even want to try when I know that the expectations are so high? And it kind of mentally they almost check themselves out, even before the game or whatever competition they're in. And how. And my question, I guess, is how do we break that, mindset of not just athletes, but even, across the board with like your job or your day to day, or if you're a coach or a player or athlete or a professor or a real estate agent or whatever you do in your life, how do you break that, mindset of saying, you know what, I'm burnt out, or I'm tired, or I suck at my job and I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. Where does that come from, and how do we help train our minds and figure out how to push through that?
this is this is going to be a long one.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, but
Yeah.
you brought up a lot there, and so I think there's a lot that we could unpack with that. You talk about burnout. For me, burnout. I don't live in this world where I think of balance, like that work-life balance. I just don't know anybody who really has it.
Yep.
I know I don't, right? Because sometimes, like, I turn in my hours around here, and I'm up here Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week because we have baseball and softball series going on all weekend, but we still have everybody else who's not in those sports who want to be seen. So not all my life is going to be 33% at home, 33% at work, 33% dealing with my own stuff.
Yeah,
And
your
so,
job is not 9 to 5. I probably
right.
guarantee that, right? So
Yeah, and so it's more of, can I be present wherever I'm at, and am I investing in the things that give me that energy and passion that I want, so that I can keep this thing going. And I'm hearing things on I love where that strength coach brought up, because the statistics are about 80% of youth quit their sport due to the car ride home.
80%.
I think you
80%.
said like 75 or 80%.
I know. I
Yeah.
said I didn't want to put a number on it, but
Yeah.
I got to call myself out here. I ended up saying I'm pretty sure it's over 50% or something like that. I think that's what I
It
said.
was a pretty high percentage, which
it doesn't.
I think
But
we all
you
agreed
taught me
on it.
that.
Yeah.
You taught me that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
You would sit there and go, that's not a real number, but it is. It's crazy.
Crazy.
And so that's another conversation, right?
Hold on. Say that again. So 80% of kids that quit sports. What is it exactly? It's because of the car ride home.
Due to the car ride home, yeah.
So anytime a kid quits a sport, you're saying over 3 out of 4 kids, or 3 out of 4 times, it's because of the car ride home.
Yeah, I do this for me. Whenever you go to any youth sport,
4 out of 5.
When you see one of them make a mistake, just watch where they look, and that'll tell you what's going on. Yeah, they know where mom and dad are sitting in the stands.
100%. So and they know how to hear that voice through the crowd too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no matter you can hear the crowd cheer, but if they don't hear that one person cheer for them, they know that
Mm-hmm.
No, that's so true.
And so you'll get an idea, and I don't think even all parents do it on purpose. I don't think so.
Yeah.
There's lots of things we do as parents that we do with really well intentions, but it has some other effects down the line and so part of even in my private practice, I see high school age athletes, and there's a lot of talks with parents. Hey, you want to do better? Here's some ways. There's a reason why I don't coach my kids. It's just a personal choice. I'm not going to. But I'm going to.
I don't think I can now. I don't think I can.
No, I heard a quote.
I want parents.
That's what you told me. 80%. I'm going to screw that up for sure.
No. There's small things you can do with that too to kind of.
The dogs agree with you too.
Yeah. That's right. And there's simple stuff, right? Like just ask them, hey, do you want to talk about it? And if they say no, cool. Hey, we'll talk about it later. Why don't you take some time?
I just asked the dogs that, and I said, do you want to talk about it? And they no.
It sounds like they do.
Yep.
I think they just want dinner. They just want to be fed.
Oh, they got dinner. That's all right. So
that's all I cared about when I was in Little League after the games. Like I just want to go to the concession stand and get my soda or my candy, or I want to go to Taco Bell after the game.
Let's go.
Yeah,
we were going to
Mazzio's
for the pizza.
Yeah,
let's go. Yeah,
that's what I cared about, and so I got to remember that Mazzio's. That's the key word. I got to remember that. That's all I'm thinking about. That's all the kids will be thinking about. Man, that is good stuff.
Here's a quick little question. I won't drag it out like I did the last question. But what are some things?
It's great questions, dude.
It was a great question.
What are some things that athletes, coaches, whoever you are, that you maybe take a couple nuggets away that can help you with that, that mindset of that, staying in that flow and everything like that? What are some things that maybe practical things, easy applications that you can kind of put into practice for people to help them, kind of get through that a little bit?
One of the most simple things, I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and I ended up sitting next to a handful of coaches. We're talking about this. So it was kind of hey, we have like 2 minutes before we were leaving, like, what's one thing we can take back to our basketball team or whatever team and I just said, look, just have, whether it's you or have them, just get a piece of paper, split it in the middle, controllable, uncontrollable, and have them just write out everything in your sport, write out everything that's out of your control. Weather, field conditions, fans, opponents, teammates, coaches, referees, like whatever it is, write it all out. And then just over here, what's in your control? Attitude, effort, preparation. To a degree, in our work is how I manage my own emotion, how I direct my thoughts, how I talk to myself. Okay, now let's just start having a process where are we spending more time on the controllable things versus the uncontrollable? Because most of our, I would say any human, right? Most of our distress comes from a focus on things out of our control. Right? It's usually somebody else or something like that. And so when you start to spend a little bit more time just what's in our control as a team, as an individual, as a coach, and then just as a coach, I would say try to make your language more process-oriented versus results. And make sure that the video matches the audio, right? Most coaches talk about it.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot can do the follow-through consistently, and so doing their own work within themselves to kind of go, are we really about that, or am I just going to talk about it? But then, when the little thing happens, we're sitting there rolling our eyes and, oh God, not again. There you go. Kids aren't dumb.
That's for sure.
They know when somebody's BSing them, and so
yeah,
don't think you're fooling anybody. Be authentic in it. That would be my first two.
I'm out of room on my whiteboard here for quotes.
Yeah, he needs to get a bigger whiteboard already.
Golly. Make sure video matches the audio.
That's good stuff. Yep.
Mic drop, walk away.
Practice what you preach, man. Yeah.
Good.
Dude, that's like,
practice what you preach. Yeah.
That's good stuff. But it's crazy what you just said, man. It seems so simple. Write down the uncontrollables and the controllables and focus on those.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times too is you're going to have.
It was easy, but.
Yeah, well, and
right.
I'm thinking about it in my head already, like that piece of paper, and I'm saying, well, I have far more uncontrollables on this side than I really do have controllables, because the only thing I can really control is my attitude, my effort, and how I respond to things, really, and everything else over here is just like this long list of stuff. And like Kevin just said, we tend to think about that side of the paper more often than the 4 or 5 things that are over here in that other side. So that's
exactly right.
And it makes sense. Your brain loves control.
Yeah.
Right. And so when it's sitting there playing out all the scenarios of the future, it's just trying to have control in some way to come up with an answer for something I don't have an answer for. Well, what if this happens? What am I going to do? It's a safety mechanism. But if I can train it to kind of go, okay, I'll deal with it.
Yeah. It's like, and I don't know how spiritual you are or anything like that, but sometimes it's funny in my prayer life. I always ask, or I always tell God what I want instead of saying, hey, whatever you need, man, or whatever you want to do. I'm like, well, can you do this for me? And it's almost like an ATM. We go to it and we're like, hey, I want this, and then give it to me like that, or something like that. So I find like you just said, your brain works in a controllable environment, and you're like, I want it like, Burger King. You can't always have it your way, so.
That's right. I like that. Yeah. So
that's pretty good right there, man.
That's great.
That was your quote of the day, Drew. Yeah. I like it, man.
Always food, so, right?
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. That was good stuff. Kev, I could literally sit here. The good news is that I actually get to see you this weekend. Fired up for that. Right. But man, these conversations take me back to the last couple of years, man. How fortunate I was to be around you in Stillwater. It's funny how, like Drew just mentioned, the good Lord works to bring us together, and the things that I took from you. I could sit here and ask you questions all night long.
Yeah, me too.
I love this stuff, man.
It's so fascinating. It is, man. It's so fascinating. Especially, you may or may not have a beverage or two, and the conversations really get rolling.
They really do. Yeah,
hey, that's when the good stuff really comes out, man.
Yeah.
That's when the other person that's asking the questions is starting to be honest, and Kevin's like, "Oh yeah, come on, let's
we'll get real.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you get down into it, right? Yeah.
Man, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. I will say the one thing. One of y'all said this a minute ago. I don't know who it was. And when you talk about the process, that's one of the hardest things. Like I think is like focusing on the process. Like, what does that mean? There's so much that goes into that, and I think of that all the time. Of what
Yeah.
is the process? The process is controlling what you can control on a daily basis. And I hear Sam Presti, Mark Dagnall, and those guys talk about that Nick Saban. They all talk about that. It's like, what does that even look like? And I think that's what you were talking about. It's
Yeah.
focusing on those
Mhm.
things that you can control, regardless of what the outcome is. I think I just saw Cooper Cup talking about that recently.
Yeah.
It was actually freaking awesome. That he's brilliant. Especially receivers out there, man. Shout out. That's a guy to go watch film of and listen
Yeah.
to. His mental state is
Hey,
phenomenal.
our
That's
guy
a
Brendan
football
Presley,
guy.
our guy Brendan Presley's
Yeah.
probably learning a thing
Yeah.
or two from, and
Ah,
out there and doing some
well,
stuff.
not anymore. Cooper Cup's
Well, I
he's in
mean,
Seattle.
yeah, but still, I mean, he's still in the same division. So
That's true. That's
Mhm.
true. I will say, I remember showing Brandon Presley film of Cooper Cup a couple years
yeah.
ago. But
So
anyway, but like focusing on that process, man,
yeah,
that's a challenging thing to do. And hearing you talking about those things, it's freaking awesome because
yeah,
it's so true.
the journey, man.
Yeah.
It's the journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And that's the goal. Take it one day at a time. Can I beat
Yeah.
yesterday's self? And it's just about, track your own progress. Am I getting
That's
better?
Kobe. Yeah,
Hey,
Kobe. That was Kobe too,
hey, and
right?
I'll go back to the College World Series. Skip Johnson used to tell his guys, "Hey, one pitch at a time."
That's it.
That's always his deal. Like, and it's so easy to think about. And you're even thinking about that. Hey, one play at a time, one pitch at a time, one, thing at a time. But it's so like easy to think about, but it's hard to really follow through and do.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and
sure.
that's what
It's
the
so
importance
true.
of routines and
So
all
hard.
that comes in.
Yeah.
You got to train it. And that's I used to sit with coaches at coaches clinics. I used to do one up here for John Smith at wrestling clinics and done it for some other stuff, but I will sit with coaches and, you know, we all have the numbers. I would go, what percentage of your sport do you attribute to the mental?
Yeah.
Right. And everybody has their numbers. And I used to make them like raise their hand of like 60% or 70%, 80%. I don't think I've ever anybody tell me below 50% that their sport is mental. And so the question I would go is then how much are you intentional with training the mental? Right. If we're saying 70% is mental, like how much are you leaving on the table because we're not training it? We'll train technique, we'll train the craft, but how much are we intentional about training the mind? And so that's the kind of point we want to put out there is we have the science and that's what we want to utilize. How do we do that one pitch at a time? Train the mind to be able to do that because
Yeah.
it's chaotic. The game's out of your control. The game's chaos, right? So
Yeah.
how much can I calm it and create focus in those big moments?
Is it too much?
Mentally.
Is it going to take too much time? If I ask you, how do you do that? Is there like a quick example? Like easy question for me would be thinking to the off season in football.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're lifting weights, you're running, you're conditioning, you're blah blah blah. You're catching jugs if you're a receiver. You're doing hand work if you're D line. You're doing working your pass sets if you're O line. Okay, so all that physical stuff. How do you train the mind in the off season if you're a football player? Is there any quick examples you have for us of that? Like, or if you're a coach or you're a strength coach training your team, like, is there
Mm-hmm.
quick things that you have for that? Like, I don't know. Like, what does that even look like?
So when we talk about learning to be present, and that's focus, right? How can I not get too far ahead, wondering if I'm going to catch this pass? Or I give you an example. We talk about a couple parts of the mind where one part of your mind is that muscle memory, right? And so how do I learn to rely on the muscle memory, but keep my working memory and the processing part of your brain to focus where it's supposed to be, kind of reading the defense as I'm making a cut, right? Versus you shouldn't be thinking about how to catch a ball. You know how to do that. You've done that thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times in your life, right? And so the other answer to kind of get there is there are things called mindfulness techniques. There are multiple things. So people think of meditation usually when you think of that. Meditation is a type of mindfulness technique, but there are many others to go. These are things that are trained to help you learn to recognize and let go of thoughts to be present longer. And so, there's lots of techniques. If I had a team, if I could get them to like do something, like some type of mindfulness practice 5 minutes before practice.
Yeah,
I
what would
think
that look like?
Everybody sit in the locker room, and we can do whether that's a breathing exercise, a meditation, a visualization, right? Like who hasn't laid in bed and visualized yourself playing in the Super Bowl and holding a trophy, right? Like there are types of visualization that we can create to help create more of a calmness or mistake recovery. So scenario playing type thing. Michael Jordan was really big into that, playing scenarios and knowing what he's going to do in each one. So if you watch that documentary, that's why he said, people said, do you ever get nervous in those big moments? He said, no, because I've already been there 100 times in my mind. Right. So we know what we're doing. So we can use that as a way of training what to do in each situation. So if we can get something, and the reason I take breathing techniques is most people, I told you at the very beginning of that energy level, right? The Ray Lewis type. Well, there's a deal that happens. Most people, the reason if you ever see a player who they do really great at practice, but they have a hard, like they're not showing up in competition. That's the most common thing I get. That's a overthinker, most likely an anxious kind of person. And so there's a physical reaction that happens with that anxiety. Heart rate goes up, adrenaline's pushing, my hands are shaky, body temperature raises. There's a whole thing physically that happens. Certain techniques can help regulate that system. And so just finding something that we can use. And then it's learning those routines and what I call reset buttons on the field, so that George Kittle talked about this. He trained in this because he knew an emotional neutral athlete is best, because you think you're best, you can critically think, you can problem solve. And so he now has a tattoo there, but he used to have a red button on his wrist, on his wrist tape. And it was a train thing that whenever he dropped a pass, he would press it. And that was a button to go reset. Let's let it go. Next play. But he would do it. He talked about it. He's the only person I've ever heard talk about it this way, too, that after he scores a touchdown, he'll press it, because even too excited disrupts your ability to think clearly. And so he wanted to be able to regulate himself back down because he talked about how anxious he was in college. And his dad kind of pushed him to work as a sports psychologist. And so you can train a few of those things so that whenever you drop a pass, it's like this thing I have that I've done on repeat that tells my mind, hey, it's good. Get the next one. Hey, we're good.
That's good
Let's
stuff.
move on to the next one.
My dude is a certified dog.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah. Tight end U currently happening. See that? Y'all know what that is?
No, I don't.
Iowa.
No.
Yeah.
No, all the tight ends in the NFL.
Oh, they're with Travis Kelce and those. Oh yeah, the actual.
All the tight. Yeah.
I thought you meant like the University of Iowa. I was like, okay.
No,
yeah, that's thinking Iowa.
I think that's what they call the camp, right? It's tight.
Yeah, that's it. Now that you said that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think it's like currently going on, or it has been.
It
the
is.
last couple
I
days.
saw some posts. So
they drop knowledge on that. George Kittle's a beast. That dude's. Yeah, and now that he's talked about that, like his mental fortitude too. That's freaking.
I like the thing about
it makes sense.
The red button.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's huge. It just now it makes sense. So
I'll have a golfer put one on their scorecard, or
I'm just gonna draw one on a red Sharpie on my wrist now.
Everybody has a different version. I worked in motocross for a long time, so we had to find something really quick that they could do. It's just like a quick squeeze of a handlebar, or pull the next visor thing. It's just it's an action or a word or something that you do that just
find a
trigger.
There's another one, guys. Find a reset button, whatever that is for you.
God, amazing.
That's good stuff, man.
I
need to get David ran out of room on his whiteboard. That's why he hasn't been writing. He's trying to store it all.
I literally can't write it. I don't want to erase those nuggets right there. I got to keep those.
We'll have to talk again.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
I got to bring my whiteboard this weekend.
You may need to bring a notebook.
I got to learn to write smaller.
You need to just bring a notebook.
That's true.
Bring a notebook, pack a lunch, you'll be good.
Man, it's true, man. Kev, we appreciate you, man. This was awesome. And
I appreciate you guys, man. Any opportunity I get to talk about this stuff, it's fun.
You dropped some great nuggets on us, and such a change of pace for us from all the who are physical, blah 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 stuff we always talk about. And, you know what I'm saying? But like to you, the fact that you said nobody ever raises their hand for it being less than 50% of their sport, so people know how important the mental side of the game is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome. It's awesome, man. So it shows how important people like you are, man. And I know personally how you've impacted people I've been around. So
No.
I'm grateful for you, man, and grateful for your impact in my life, but obviously then the people that you are impacting every day, and that ended up bleeding into people I was around on a daily basis the last couple of years too, man. So
No doubt
it's
about
awesome.
it.
We
Yeah, and that's
appreciate
what
your
we
time.
said before we started the show, is that we wanted a little change of pace because a lot of people don't understand what exactly, not even sports psychology, but just the training of the mind and figuring out how to deal with things mentally, because a lot of things you think you can fix, with money or with a solution or something out there. A lot of times it starts, in your head, if a man thinketh, so it believe, so
There you go.
it's one of those things.
There it
So,
is, man. Let's go.
And
Yeah.
so
Perfect.
see ya. Mic drop. Kevin's
Yeah,
about to turn the
but it's one
camera
of
around
those
and be
things,
like,
but
that's
it's
what's on
very
my
important.
wall.
And I think that people often overlook it. And so people like David just said, you are very valuable to a lot of people. And I think Oklahoma State is very grateful to have you and have people like you that not only there, but at other institutions and places and, stuff like that they're very grateful to have people like you that help, train athletes and whoever it is to kind of focus on that mental side of things. So
For sure, man. I'll add this before we close it out. Is you mentioned earlier private practice. Like anybody that hears this or gets a whiff of it, don't be afraid to contact Kevin. You can get a hold of me if you want to contact Kevin, whether it's individualized, it's for a team, no matter the level of sport. And he's going to try to help you guys out the best he can because he doesn't want to just keep all the knowledge inside himself. He wants to share that to everybody that he possibly can. So if you're a high school coach, little league, whatever that is, or you're a high school athlete, middle school athlete, individualized parent, whoever it is, you want to help your kids out or the people you're around, get a hold of us, man. You can message us on Twitter, any of the social medias, and we'll get you in touch with Kevin for sure because he's just looking to help. That's all he's doing. I promise you that. I know that firsthand. That's all he wants to do.
Yeah, and we'll definitely have some clips out there tomorrow and stuff like that too of some of the good knowledge that you dropped for us tonight. And guys, please like, follow, subscribe. You can go check this out if you're not watching live. We'll have it on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. So if you're in the car, want to listen to a good podcast right here, go check it out. Share it with your friends, and like David said, if you guys need to get a hold of Kevin for any of that, please do so. It's very important. So. Man, this has been a great hour and 3 minutes so far. So
yeah, thanks again, Kev. You got anything for us?
Yeah,
Final
give
thoughts?
us one more. Give us one more little nugget.
Ooh, David was talking about whiteboard, and I was thinking about my whiteboard next to me. This is a Sam Presti quote. Speaking of,
hey, here we go.
That I think about, and he got it somewhere else, but he had spoken, and it said, "The past is not a place of residence; it's a place of reference. You learn what you can, you move on. Don't let yourself sit there too long. There's too many great things ahead of us, so let's keep moving forward."
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we will end it on that one. Thank you to our sponsors, the Jeremy Hodge Auto Group, Cooper Painting and Seal, and our new one, Magnolia Landscape and Design, for the Huddle Up podcast. Myself, Drew England, David Glidden, and
Campbell Jack Glidden. You need to go to bed, buddy.
He's like, no, I got to give me some of this stuff,
He escaped mom. He wanted to hear this knowledge that was going on.
And our guest, thank you again, Kevin, for the time you got to share with us and hang out with us. But we will see you guys next time. Next week we got a special guest for you guys. We'll unveil that this weekend, and we'll see you guys. It's probably gonna be a Tuesday night episode next week, but we will let you guys know. Follow, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys soon.